I was gonna say did we tell you to like we should have told you to prepare a joke.
Excuse me, I told you about my career. Isn't that a joke enough?
Actually, I think maybe that's good.
Yeah, I like that one. Put that
Can
one
we open
in.
with that?
Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Life After Caltech podcast, the podcast where current and former Caltech students interview alumni to learn about their unique post-graduation pathways and how they found their own success in the world. My name is Claire Ellison, a rising junior at Caltech.
I'm Claire's co-host, Mason Smith, class of 2009 alum. I am like his current board member, but that's soon to be over in October. That's going to be my last thing. So I'm looking forward to freedom, like Claire's looking forward to her junior year, I guess.
Okay, we were on different pages. I feel like entirely. You are getting freed. I am going into my junior year. Things could not be more different. Anyways,
Our guest today is Pallavi Gunalan, class of 2011 and Venerable House alum. She started out studying bioengineering and spent time in research and industry and eventually left a PhD program to pursue stand-up comedy and writing. You might have seen her work with both Crooked Media or on Dropout TV.
Pallavi has helped us out immensely starting this podcast, so thank you, Pallavi. During this conversation, we talked about what it takes to get through Caltech. It was definitely quite raw, which definitely is her personality, as you will soon find out. We dive a little deeper into mental health topics. During Pallavi and Mason and Riley's time at Caltech, there were a string of suicides that definitely affected their experience at Caltech and time after. So just a little warning on what the episode entails. So here's our interview with Pallavi.
Hello, I am Pallavi Gunalan. I graduated in 2011. I double majored in Bioengineering and English. I was in, now it's called Venerable House, but I also joined Ricketts, Blacker, and Dabney at different points, and I was IHC chair for a really terrible year.
BDR calls to you. That means a lot to me as someone in Ricketts. I enjoy that.
I hadn't heard that acronym before. Is that like, is it so common to like do Blacker, Dabney, and Ricketts that you guys just call it BDR?
I think it is common. It's at least something we commonly talk about. There's even a BDR party now. Anyways, I guess getting into the questions, why did you choose Caltech?
I didn't even know what Caltech was when I applied to it. My dad just added it to my list of schools. I early applied to like 4 schools and Caltech was one of the ones I got into. And I was so excited because on my like acceptance letter, somebody hand wrote like, because I wrote in my essay something about how I used to dance a lot. And they were like, you can dance at Caltech too. And I was like, oh my gosh, it's handwriting. It means something. And then we went to visit schools and the professor at Case was like, he told me at Case Western, our bioengineering program is built out of the engineering school, so it's really engineering heavy. At Hopkins, it's out of their med school, so it's really focused on like the medical aspect. And at Caltech, they'll change the way you think and problem solve. And I was like, do you want me to go to Caltech? And then we visited and it was like beautiful Southern California and it just seemed like a good fit for me at the time.
Where are you from?
I grew up in Utah. I think I was the only person who got into Caltech for my year. I don't know. But usually there's only like a couple people that get into like Caltech or MIT from Utah. And so when someone gets in early, everybody else is like, they filled their quota. So it was even more annoying that I didn't know what Caltech was before I applied to it.
I think I'm pretty sure I was the only person my year from Indiana, so I feel ya.
I think there was 2 people from Mississippi my year.
You did it. Theater school.
I also feel like Caltech's really good at marketing when it comes to like these admitted students thing. Like they're like too good. Like the campus is beautiful. They're handwriting these notes. Like I feel important. Like it's game over.
Yeah.
They tour us of the houses.
It is
I
a
don't
really
know.
fun experience
Mhm.
when it's the fun things. So all of that is like super like attractive for pre-frosh or I think they do really good at advertising and they have great name recognitions.
It's true, especially with Young Sheldon coming out. It's like the best way for me to explain what it actually is.
I prefer Breaking Bad. I'm like, that school that the drug dealer went to.
I feel like during our pre-frosh weekend or discotheque as we call it, there was like this huge red flag that I got from one of the house's current students. They were passing out like flyers, they're like throwing them around and it had rankings about the general happiness of the Caltech population and stuff, and it was terrible. They're like, "I wish I'd never come here. The school is terrible." And I was like, "Hmm, this is so funny. I really should have paid more attention to that. I guess I still wanna come here." But it's kind of a red flag that the current students are like, "This sucks." Like,
That is so funny. That's so punk rock for them to do that. That's sick.
So, Pallavi, since you didn't know as much about Caltech before getting in, like what surprised you once you got here?
I was very pleasantly surprised by the people in the community. Like, I really loved, like, the prank culture and the house culture. I really was surprised at the, like, depth and level of friendships I was able to have and how I felt like I had kind of found my people. Yeah, I think it's all the non-academic parts because I knew the academic part would be really difficult, but I think all the non-academic parts, like, really surprised me in how defining they were for me at that moment.
me personally, I wanna hear more about your IHC chair experience. Did you do it your, sophomore year, your junior year? Like, what year did you do it?
I did it sophomore year. I was, like, vice president of student happiness when everybody was unhappy. Like, I was there when all the bad stuff happened. There were budget cuts, there were, like, a string of suicides while I was supposed to take care of student happiness. I blocked out a lot of this, by the way. And, so it was just, like, chaotic, and the people who, like, stepped up and like, I wasn't running against anyone. The people who were interested in student leadership were like, "Okay, you need to do that because there's nobody to do that." Because we were trying to find people for these positions, and so that's kind of how I became IHC chair early, but it was, like, a lot. It was a lot, and there were, like, crazy expectations, and every time something super tragic happened on campus, I would be one of the first people that got a call. And so it became like a pattern anytime someone like passed away, like I would get a call. I would joke with Anthony, who was Ask It President. I was like, maybe they're giving us all a pony. Like as we're walking into bad news, we were like, what if it's $1 million? But we all knew what it was going to be. So it was just like super it was insane. It was insane. It was also, like, a dive into a type of leadership that I did not expect to have to do to balance different opinions, like, the trustees wanted to get rid of the murals, and I was trying to, like, help cater to them so we didn't lose other things, and then the students would get mad at me, but then, like, I was trying to it was such a weird balance of things that I think I was thrown into, like, way too early, but it also made sense for me because I cared about, like, the entire campus, and I had friends in, like, all the houses, and, like, it allowed me to expand my circle beyond. Because I know there are certain people who, like, stay in their house and they have their friends there and stuff, but I've always been kind of, like, all over the place, so that was, like, a really fun experience, but it really was, like, going through the ringer. Like, that year was rough. It was a tough year for sure.
I guess, I don't know, like, in the sense of, like, you gained a lot of experience for better or for worse. I guess
Yeah.
maybe worse for your mental health. I guess you're learning how to compartmentalize.
Yeah, I definitely had to compartmentalize, and I also had to know when to say no because I really took on, like I was taking on, like, other houses and people's problems as, like, mine, and that's, like, not the way to do IHC chair. I think I was juggling, like, way too much outside of academics, and so I had to, like, learn how to balance my goals with being an active member of the Caltech community. You know, you wanna participate and you wanna, like, do things for your community and you wanna spend a lot of time on it, and then you're like, "Wait a minute, I'm a student here. What is happening?" Because that takes a back seat sometimes. So, the next year, I think I, like, focused more on myself, and I think that was helpful. I think learning that lesson early in Caltech helped me not flame out at the end of Caltech because I had a lot of friends who kind of were checked out senior year and they didn't end up graduating. And I saw all of them slowly flame out and I was like, this isn't happening to me. If it didn't happen sophomore year, it's not going to happen now. And I just like finished. So I think that was helpful in that way of like keeping me on track and learning how to balance.
Was there like a particular moment that made you realize, "Oh, I'm doing too much," or was it just like the accretion, the like total sum of it?
I think it was the sum of it. I think over time it just like wore on me. And it was like a slow burn. And I was like, okay, now I need to heal. You know, I need to go back to my room and just figure things out.
You mentioned the, students flaming out senior year. Do you have something that you assign it to? Like, oh, like, obviously, Caltech's stressful and they didn't take time for themselves, but Or is there, like, more of a precise thing?
I think it was because they were just, like, tired of everything, and it was just difficult keeping up, and so they drank too much and baked a lot instead of doing their work. And
I
then
think one of those might be more relevant than the other, but
yeah.
I won't
But I
judge.
think it's really important that it's relevant because, like, they would give me the baked goods, you know what I mean? And that helped me, and so that's really important to know. And then there were other people who I think, like, there were just, like, little things here and there where they had to make up a class or whatever, and, you start running out of time senior year of, like, fixing those mistakes. So I think there was myself and one other person in my year in Venerable House. I think everybody would have thought we would have graduated late, and we looked around senior year and we're like, "We kinda did it. How is it us? How did we save ourselves?" And it's like all these other people that were, like, way smarter, that had issues just, like, getting that last bit done. But I think, Caltech can take a lot out of you in the course of those 4 years, and you don't know when it's gonna hit, so maybe it's gonna hit early for me.
I pray mine hit early. Like, I'm really worried that going to my junior year, it's gonna be like part 2. You ain't seen nothing yet. And I'm like, I very much hope that is not the case.
You also, like, learn different coping mechanisms, and you learn yourself more, like, when you go through those things, so even if you do go through something crazy next year, you'll know how to deal with it better so that it doesn't, like, impact your progression as much through the school.
Yeah, I'm definitely big on, like, get hit hard early. The earlier you get hit, the, like, sooner you learn how to cope with it, right? Just like you're saying, if it happens senior year, it's hard a lot harder to recover at that point.
Do you think that Caltech had an effect on your, path after Caltech?
1,000%. I think it's first of all, it made it difficult for me to get into grad school with my GPA, okay, and that changed my path quite a bit. I also think it gave us those tools of problem solving and thinking for ourselves, and that's why I'm a stand-up comedian now. But I do think it gave me both, like, the lack of confidence of feeling like I don't really know how anything works, but then it also gave me the confidence to, like, figure it out, especially when I didn't get into grad school right out of Caltech. Um, I I was like, "My life is over. I'm a loser. Nothing's gonna work out." And then once I went through that dark period of not having a plan after Caltech, I when I don't have a plan, I'm a lot better now. It's the getting burned early thing yet again. But in the larger scheme of my life, I said it gave me the confidence and then also the lack of, like, arrogance, I guess, to pursue things more in depth. But I'm also like, I wonder if I had gone to, like, a different school and if I had more confidence, like, would I feel like would I explore more things in that way? Like, would I have tried things with more confidence? Would I feel better about myself? Sort of a thing. Like, did it break me down too far is what I'm curious about, but we move.
When did you, decide that you wanted to go to grad school? Did you know, like it sounds like you didn't it wasn't necessarily the plan coming into Caltech.
It was I was thinking about doing, like, pre-med, and then I think once I realized how hard Orgo was, what my GPA was, and also I really did like doing research in the summers, and I felt, like, comfortable in that environment, then I kind of was like, "Okay, maybe I'll do grad school." And then I didn't get in the first time because I didn't apply to that many, and then I was like, "What do I, like, do now?" But I really took the year after to, like, rebuild. I did, like, volunteer research, I, like, tutored to support myself, and then I, like, did a really good job of getting myself together for, like, master's applications and, like, contacting professors beforehand and, like, really acquainting myself and kind of getting my groove back a little bit after Caltech in terms of, like, going after things with, like, dumb ferocity, um, of just going for it and thinking I deserve it. And so that got me into the master's program. And then after that, I honestly, again, I was like, do I do an MD PhD? Like, what do I want to do? I was lost again. And then I was like, okay, I'm going to work for a little bit. And then I had another moment of like intermediate. I didn't go straight from my master's to a job. I was like tutoring and stuff while I found a biotech job. And then I was like, okay, I'm going to do my PhD. And then I quit my PhD. So it's been like me going like back and forth and trying to decide what I wanted to do. And I've kind of just accepted that I have a lot of different interests and I don't want to dive so deep into like science and engineering that I can't do anything else. But yeah, it's definitely a lot of like that beginning of like double dutch when you're trying to like go into the ropes. You're like, when do I join? What am I doing? When do I get out?
How long were you in the PhD program?
That was like 3.5 years.
Oh, you lasted way longer than I did.
I was
Oh,
gonna say, yeah,
really?
Mason, imagine quitting PhD, like, Jesus.
I mean, that's like I only lasted for I was like I knew I was leaving after a year, and then I took another like semester for me to find a job. So I was technically there for a year and a half, but I was fully checked out after a year.
That is so funny. It makes me feel good that because there are a lot of PhD dropouts. Nobody just people don't really talk about it that much. But I stayed in because I like my big thing was like if I quit my PhD, it was for comedy. It wasn't to go into like a science or engineering thing. And so that took me. It took a lot. I was in denial a lot of how much I loved comedy and like how much I wanted that to be my lifestyle. And so I started going hard at comedy at like the same time that I started my PhD. And then it just kind of like there were just so many things that were happening. I was in like a web series and like doing all these things. And I was like, I cannot balance this and do what I want to do in the entertainment world while being responsibly in my PhD. My like lab wasn't happy with me. I got kicked out of one lab. I went to another. I had a scholarship, like a provost scholarship when I entered. So I was like, I need to find a my second professor like was moving, so I had to find a third professor. And then I was like, what am I doing? Like, why am I doing this? And they were like, we need you to write up all your research and bring it in. We need to decide on some things. So I was kind of like in trouble, but I also like went in and handed in my research and was like, I quit. Because I was like, this is too much. I had a conversation with my parents about it. So I think I would have quit sooner if I was just like, oh, I don't like grad school or I want to have a job in science. But giving up like my identity from as long as I can remember as like a scientist and an engineer was like, it was really, it shifted something in me and it forced me to accept parts of myself that like I do associate a lot of shame with of like following these dreams of mine that some people consider silly or not impactful on a global scale or doesn't contribute to society in like the way that hoity-toity engineering STEM jobs do. But it was just what I wanted to do. So I kind of had to accept that I got to do what I want to do.
Gotta go my own way.
Yeah.
I feel like that is I respect that so much. I feel so tied to my STEM identity already as about to go into my 3rd year of undergraduate. I couldn't imagine doing it in the face of PhD as well. But honestly, baller career. I feel like it's so I feel like it sounds so fun. Like you get to do comedy all the time and it's really impressive. I feel like you always have to be on the ball. It's like you always have to have the next thing to say. And even more than that, just in the immediate, you have to like work off gigs, or at least that's my understanding of what you're doing right now. So you do have to have a lot of confidence. Like you have to have that dog in you. And I really respect that.
I definitely do have that in me, but it's like I think like comedy helped me find my voice in a number of ways. Like in comedy, you talk about finding your voice. It takes you like 5, 7 years, whatever. People will tell you it takes you like a long time to find your voice within comedy, but I think it helped me find my voice as like a person. I think a lot of the energy that I was putting into things before were into like relationships or friendships and not as much into like my passions and like not as much investing in me. And then comedy became the thing where I'm like, oh, I want to do this like for me. I want to do this alone. I want this to be my journey. I want to have like these goals and these ambitions and like there are things that I want to work on and things I want to say. And that was like, I always felt in like science and engineering, I never felt as like confident in that way. I always felt like I was doing it wrong or like not as good as other people. I still love it and I still like hop in between jobs and stuff with it. I still love talking about it and I still think it's like really important and I always like advocate for it in science communication. But I will say like, yeah, comedy is it's a different type of lifestyle that you have to be like really committed to because you are not necessarily going to be successful right away or be able to pay your bills right away and you have to like deal with that kind of hard lifestyle in order to do what you love and make the kind of art you want to make.
You said like I mean, I guess it sort of really started developing when you're in grad school, but like how did you like first get into it at all?
It's honestly Caltech's fault because that's where I met my friend group that had my sense of humor at the time and we like loved comedy and I always like had on my own too, like watched like Comedy Central and stuff like that growing up. And then in that friend group, like, I don't know, I guess I also did it on my own where I would like listen to comedy podcasts. I knew which like local scenes different comics came out of. Like I knew the inner workings of it. I was just a big comedy dork. And then a person I was dating who was from Caltech started doing improv. One of my other friends from Caltech did an open mic. And then I was like, I want to do this. And then I did it. I didn't realize it could be a career even then, but the more you do it, the more you realize it's a career. But I definitely loved it the first time I did it, but I didn't have the lifestyle where I could do it consistently. And then when I started my PhD, I was like, I'm just going to do my PhD and this, and that's what I'm going to. I was newly single. I was like, it's all about me, baby. That saves you so much time, honestly. If you're just a single, sad grad student, it's a lot
If you're
easier.
single.
Yeah, no, it's great. Especially this is a bit that I have, but like women really level up when they're single. They like learn languages, they learn skill sets. They're like out there like bettering themselves. And that's what I did. I was like, I'm gonna become a stand-up comedian. But I actually didn't think that. I was like, I just want to do these, like I just want to go hard at it. And I didn't realize I was like creating a career on the side or that that was possible. But being in it more, you realize like, oh, there's TV writers and there's this and there's that. Cause like growing up, I didn't know you could intern at Conan. Like I had no idea that this was a thing that you could do. And then as you learn more, you're like, oh, there are writers for podcasts and all of these other things that you wouldn't think would require labor and seem easy, but actually require a lot of people in comedy and entertainment to put together.
You definitely did single sad grad student much better than I did. I think my self-improvement was gaining 20 pounds on Mountain Dew.
Yeah,
I think that's the extent of my
you got to
grad school
do the do.
transformation.
You got to have your single hobbies.
It's true. Okay, anyways, to the Caltech go back to the Caltech houses, because that's obviously the thing I'm most interested in. I drank the Kool-Aid when it came to the house
Mhm.
system. What were you looking for when you joined so many houses? I feel very, like, I'm very Ricketts, sadly. Sadly, I hate don't go to Ricketts, it's terrible. But I why did you join so many houses? Don't join Ricketts, guys.
That is so funny. Stay away. I really loved the house that I was in. I didn't want to leave. I had a good base there and good friends. I do think, though, my personality is very like open to all different types of people, which I think has actually served me well in
You're
comedy.
divergent, I get it.
Okay. I'm extra divergent. No. So I loved like just hanging out with people who were a little wild, a little bit crazier and rickets and a little bit more like hippie and Dabney, you know what I mean? Like just like different I just liked different mentalities and I felt like I just had friends in different houses, you know? I enjoyed the different traditions. I just wanted to participate more in some of the events and stuff with my friends. Blacker. I joined Blacker for a certain social event that we can't
So
talk
yeah, I like
about.
that. Yeah,
Yeah,
the
but it was
1,000
fun.
hours.
Yes.
It was so
Oh my
beautiful.
god, that was insane.
Yeah, like I definitely relied on people in my house a lot, but I think the more kind of different social circles you can find, the better, right? Like you get different things. You get different things from different people.
How do you feel about the Caltech network and the alums' involvement in the current students' lives?
Hey, I wanted to be more involved. I did. I'm not. I tried to help when there was like a whole thing with the SCRVs and the administration that I felt like was unfair. And I started this big Facebook group called Active Alums. And then the Caltech admin like wanted access to it because I had created a larger network of alums than they had out of sheer spite about what the admins had done to one of the students. But I also think like I really felt like I needed to move on. So I kind of like the interaction I have now where I like get to be on this podcast and interacting with you. And then like one time they called me back to do a stand-up set. And like one time they called me back to talk to students about their careers and all they wanted to talk about was my stand-up. Like things like that where it was just very like low lift. I think it's hard for me to go back and invest really solidly in Caltech because of things that I've seen since becoming a stand-up in just other communities in my local community and like wanting to help with like mutual aid and stuff in LA and wanting to put my focus on that. But I do think that I think that alums from Caltech do have really strong bonds with each other in a way that perhaps other alumni don't, probably because we trauma bonded over problem sets and other things. And I think that's really beautiful. But yeah, I don't know. I honestly am like way more removed than you guys are from like I didn't even go back to like the reunions or anything because I didn't know. I don't know. I think it was just hard for me after a while to interact with the Caltech community until I could like figure out like what I was doing and like find myself and my voice and feel good about it. I think if it was more accessible and more casual, that would be like a more fun thing. Does that make sense? I don't know.
I feel like it makes sense. I don't
Okay.
know, I've talked to other alumni and they were like they felt the need to also take a step back until they found their voice, so maybe you'll find your way back. Maybe you'll have to I'll invite
Maybe.
you to Ricketts formal dinner. I think you'd like it. I think you'd be
Oh my
entertained.
gosh.
I
I'm
don't
sure I
think
would. I'd also feel a million years old.
Yep.
I'd feel so
We could do
old.
stand up. It would be great.
Oh my gosh. That was basically stand up. It was like standing up and giving a speech and roasting people at the dinners. That was basically the where it
It takes
started.
Yeah.
skill. We have a
Yeah.
role in our house, it's called Culture Frosh. Do
Mm.
like and they just talk about culture, like, just, like, what's ever happening in the world for, like, 10 minutes and make it super entertaining and super, like, long-winded. It was such a skill. I was always so impressed.
It's
I
not
was like
every night.
no, not every night. It'd be, like,
Okay.
every, like, week or 2, something like current events happening and stuff like that.
As you talked about, like, the work you do in LA, can you talk more about that work and, like, how you got involved in it?
Yeah. I think like during the pandemic, we all found ourselves, and I found myself really frustrated with a lot of people that I thought I could trust to be like responsible and stuff. And then slowly I started finding friends who are more like-minded and like helping the community. And there are a lot of mutual aid organizations in LA that gained a lot of momentum during the pandemic to like help feed and help the unhoused communities in LA because they were really left to themselves. So like there's been a lot of holes that have been filled by just people organizing. And so I follow a lot of mutual aids. My one friend runs a soup kitchen on Tuesdays. I know other people who for over 5 years have been feeding hundreds of people in MacArthur Park, and they have like, people donate, people cook, people drop off, people hand out. It's all sorts of things. And so I started with the soup kitchen thing. I think during the pandemic, I also helped raise money for some like Black organizations. I started like a mutual aid thing for tutoring Black students, which I have not kept up with, but you try to do what you can when you can. But yeah, I think like that whole time like really kind of reorganized my priorities, and I realized like I didn't want to be successful in a community that wasn't also doing well.
Just for a little bit of clarity, can you give a good definition for mutual aid so that everyone is familiar with
I don't know the official definition. What I refer to it as is like people helping people. So it's literally just like people organizing to address needs in their communities. I think I also learned that with organizations that have a little bit more paperwork, a little bit more strings attached with money, whether they are nonprofits or governmental or whatever, sometimes they have rules and regulations on how to help, and those end up controlling the communities that they're claiming to help. Whereas from mutual aid, it's like a bottom up of like everybody can benefit. And it's kind of like a no strings attached thing. Anybody who comes and needs anything can get it. And I don't care if you could afford a meal and you came here and you got one, there's a reason you're getting one today. And that's okay. No questions asked, get in line, get your meal, sort of a thing. And so I really appreciate that way of humanizing people and assuming they have the best intentions because it, I think, makes the community better for everyone. So that's the idea of mutual aid is like we're all on the same level, we're helping each other, and we're not going to tell you what to do. We're just going to try to help with solutions. And at sometimes that means like people who are helping need help, and that's what community is. So they also get help when they need it. It's really the people in the community that helps each other, that can directly address needs on the ground. So that's kind of like why I really admire people who work in mutual aid. It's literally led on the ground, often by people from the same communities. And so I think like mutual aid is beautiful in that it's just your community having a voice. I also think this is relevant to this podcast. I think I was more exposed to this by being introduced to comedians. There's this saying that artists are like the most dangerous people because they interact with all classes of people. And I really felt like while I was in STEM, I was in a bubble, both a like socioeconomic bubble, because everybody has these ambitions and these goals, but they're also like supported and protected in a way that a lot of comedians aren't. Like, I have many friends who became unhoused at one point or another during following their dreams in LA, or that's how I met them, or, just like people who come from backgrounds that a lot of people at Caltech were privileged enough to not come from, or to not, or maybe came from, but used Caltech as like a stepping stool to get out of that. And so that kind of like opened my eyes. It was like a real bubble burst moment after like starting comedy, but I think in the end it's made me more like connected person with my community, my local community like here in LA.
Caltech is definitely like quite a bubble. can
Yeah.
can be a bubble for like the whole time you're there. There are some. I mean, when I was there, I think I might have known about the Caltech Y, maybe, but I didn't really do anything with it at all.
Yeah.
My understanding is maybe it's a little more. I mean, I think it was pretty relevant then, but maybe more relevant now. Was that like? Did you do anything with the Caltech Y then, or?
Yeah, I don't think like before Caltech and after Caltech, I did more service than when I was at Caltech. I think at Caltech I was too distracted.
I guess I wanna go back to what we were talking about earlier, and I guess, like, the sense of community with Caltech. You were the IHC chair at a very tough time, it feels like you had to experience a lot, and you saw a community quite shaken, I would say. How do you think like, if you were giving advice to current students or just people who are going through, like, an experience like that, who have a community like Caltech, how did people make it through, and how did you support them? 'Cause it seems like you were the troops on the ground.
I mean, I don't know that I just kind of was, like, out and with people a lot. I think I remember crying in public a lot. I remember being like, "You gotta talk to people if you need help," like, just falling apart myself. But I think sometimes that helps, like, letting people see you at your most vulnerable so they feel a little bit better. I remember after our friend Brian passed away, there were literally, like, 7 people within a month that I, like, hand walked to the counseling center, and it was very tough to have feel like you're responsible for those lives, even though, like, you're not, but, like, you feel like that in the moment, and so I think if more people are, like, vocal and open, if there's more methods for people to get help, then it wouldn't rest on the shoulders of, like, students as much while they're also trying to, like, pass Caltech. So I think for people in the community, students, like, obviously, like, checking on your friends, all of those cliche things that we say, but also just, like, finding ways to have fun and, like, improve everyone's outlook on life while you're there, because life is very hard, and there are ways that you can find coping mechanisms and ways to make it more joyful and know it's, like, not all on you and you're not alone. And then I think top down, there's a lot more that could be done to make sure that students aren't necessarily the first ones that everybody has to go to or feel that responsibility of that weight. But it's a difficult problem to solve, so
Yeah, it feels like I think, yeah, it's tough because I think, like, no matter how much I think additional resources Caltech provides, and, that is in no way suggesting that they don't need to provide additional resources, but, like, no matter how much additional resources you provide, I feel like there's, like, this instinct to, like, want to be the first one there, like, as a student. Like, I mean, you see
yeah.
your friends and, like, they're, like, if your friends are going through difficult stuff, like, it's not like you I think that is a kind of different kind of thing to learn that, like, you can't like, you can support them as much as you can, but, like, if there's professional resources or other things that they can take advantage of, like, it's also, like, helpful to them. Not, like, giving up on them by, like, directing them towards that also. That is part of your support, even if it's not, like, just you literally just you being there all the time.
Yeah. I think I definitely, like, took that on for myself for many people. I literally was like, "If I don't do this, then someone's gonna die." And that's so hard for, like, a 20-year-old to feel. And it wasn't just at Caltech, it happened in my family. Like, my family heard that I was experienced with suicide and depression, and then started funneling people to me to talk to. And I think that's like, if you're very vocal about a certain thing that people have difficulty talking about, more people come to you. And I agree that as I've gotten older, part of learning how to be an adult is like learning when to put the oxygen mask on yourself, and how to enjoy life and like not have to take everything on your own. And that's like the burnout that I was talking about earlier, where like junior year I kind of became more of a recluse a little bit in order to take care of myself and compartmentalize, and then like refresh and go from there. But yeah, I think I definitely understand that desire because I had it. I wanted to check on everybody. I wanted to make sure everybody was okay. I don't want another bad thing to happen under my watch. But people are people, and you can't control what they're going to do or what they're going through. You can only offer them support in the ways that you can offer it to them, and that includes like getting other people to help too, and involving, people in your community that would take that responsibility off of your shoulders. When you're a student, you shouldn't have to have that on you, and you shouldn't feel like it's your fault or your responsibility or something. It's honestly something we shouldn't have to worry about, but we do because it's a reality of life. But yeah, I'm very much of the mindset like, do what you can do, but take care of yourself too.
I definitely agree. I guess I had an interesting sophomore year, and then I feel like coming out post of that, I've gained something in the sense of knowing the Caltech resources by heart, by
Well,
choice or by not choice. And through that, I feel like, I don't know, I feel like Caltech has a fundamental, at least right now with the students that I interact with, like a distrust in the administration system and the mental health system. And honestly, in some ways, I don't blame them. There are certain resources and certain things that I'm like, me personally, I haven't had a good experience, and I know other people haven't. But then there's also people that I've talked to and interacted with that I'm like, this is a great resource. This actually made me feel better. I don't know, being well informed and like while I'm still able to put my oxygen mask on, actually pointing people in the right direction has truly, I don't know, made me feel truly better. So
yeah. And I think that's the thing is like, it's not a one solution for everyone sort of thing. That's why you have to have a bunch of different things. Like therapy works for some, medication works for others, or maybe both. Like different, like it's going to be different. And you have to, as the person that is affected, you have to have like the patience of knowing that it's going to be okay eventually and you will figure it out eventually. But as a young person with a lot of emotions, that's really hard to put into context. Like I think part of getting older is like learning to practice grieving and tragedy, and learning how to cope with things that don't go your way, and moving through it, experiencing the emotions and realizing it's a part of life. But when I was 20 years old, I was like, this is all life is. It's so rough. I can't believe this. This is like the worst thing that's ever happened, that's ever gonna happen. You don't know. You don't have like the years of like memories to kind of put it in context. So I think it can be very like you can experience a lot of like, difficult emotions, and you will need different solutions for those for sure.
Just saying how old we all are, basically.
Well,
Sort of that Claire is young, but mostly that we're all really old. I think that's really the thing
oh
you're
my
trying to say.
gosh.
Just
Can't
old and tired.
wait for Claire to get old. I love when my friends get old. It's
what are
so
we
great.
defining as old? When do I hit this old mark?
I do actually wanna ask this though, because 'cause I'm as the person going through that time right now, is it frustrating to hear people just say, "It'll get better as you get older," or, "You right now, you don't have that context."
I feel like, I don't know, my hot take is I feel like if you drill into kids, like, your brain is so small, your feelings aren't valid, they're ruled by hormones, that's not gonna really speak to them because they're still my feelings, they're still exactly what I'm feeling at the moment.
Mm.
But I feel like it's being like, you're in a sprint, you're at this one of the most stressful points of your life, and things aren't gonna always be this way. In the sense, like, it's hard to put things in context. And that'll speak to a lot of people because and especially like Caltech students, because it's true. It's a logical statement. You will have more context. You are living in like this really intense time, and at a point, it'll slow down. Your life will like reach a more secure place, and I think that's always nice to hear.
Yeah, I want to make sure that I'm not saying that like you're young, it'll be fine, because it doesn't necessarily get better in terms of like life experiences or like how they affect your emotions. What you hope would get better is your ability to navigate them from experience, or like your ability to cope with them and still function, or your ability to even accept like difficult things that life throws at you, just like the acceptance part, even. Because I think that, like, just like knowing yourself and knowing what you need is putting the oxygen mask on. It is like giving yourself a chance to breathe through like really difficult times. But yeah, I mean, I'm like, I'm idealistic and cynical at the same time. You know what I mean? I'm like, we can all change and be better, and we don't have to have low standards for things. And at the same time, I'm like, life is hard. I'm the oldest I've ever been. No, just old inside and out. But there are things you can do to find joy within it, or to find comfort at least.
Absolutely. I don't know. I guess if I was giving any advice to people who are going through like mental health like feelings, like I guess at Caltech, like I've experienced a lot of them. Like I've experienced all the resources throughout the entire year. Like I said, by choice or by not. And I feel like being informed helps me a lot and helps the like other people like around me too. I'm someone who's in my life generally opposed to mental health resources. Crazy, I know I'm doing this podcast, like everything. I really like to just keep it to myself. Talking to my freshman year PI, she was probably one of the most supportive people to me during that time to give me perspective. She's like, Claire, you're at Caltech. We do not make butterflies. I will support you through whatever you need, but you gotta pull your shit together. And that's exactly what I needed to hear in the
It's a
face
very
of
specific brand of support.
and it's and that,
Tough
I think
love?
that's what's really like that's what's important, right? Like I tried to go to counseling for Caltech. It did not work for me. I was like, I don't know, I had this like these huge emotions and I was angry and whatever. I'm like, it's okay to feel this way. I was like, fuck you. I don't care what you think. I was like, don't talk to me like I'm 12. And I didn't go back. But like, I don't know. And then like there's like so many resources here at Caltech that I don't know, I had to find my special brand, and my special brand was tough love, and I feel like everyone here is like, "Oh, go to therapy, talk it out." But sometimes that's not what you need, and, like, just having all the different resources and trying them all is has been very supportive. And, like, I realized how much more there was at Caltech, even if it's not, like, directly advertised. I feel like most people meet them when they're like, "You're not committed probation, you've had this medical thing, XYZ," but I feel like they're also quite useful before you get to that point too. I think my prime example is like the dean's office. I ended up talking to the dean's office just out of necessity, like dire necessity. The first time I interacted with them, I did curse them out. I did in fact curse them out, and I stand by that choice. But I talked to him a little bit more, and he's kind of cool. Like I don't know, I feel like they're quite supportive in the sense of like trying to be on your side, at least the people who are there currently. And the Title IX office was actually also very, very supportive. They
Mm.
were very good people. And like you can go to them for like resources other than sexual assault, and then they're just being like surrounded by very kind people. And I feel like a lot of resources at Caltech are that way. If they were advertised a little bit more casually, or just like more like you could email them instead of them emailing you, it would be a better environment. Like I've walked multiple people to the dean's office and been like, they're actually pretty chill people. They are looking out for you. But it is just a general distrust. I know for most of the general distrust from admin, in our case, just comes from them feeling like they're trying to kill house culture. And it just like even if it's not all of the admin, it definitely affects every like facet of it. But like also like I feel like I've had very positive experiences, and I think other Caltech students have as well. And I feel like knowing what administration to go to, what resources to go to, is really has been would be really helpful. And I'm very glad I've had those people to talk to, and I'm very glad I've been able to also pass out that information.
Yeah, I want to comment on something you said about earlier about trust, and just now what you said about the admin, because I think part of the reason it's so much on students' shoulders is because of that lack of trust with admin, because you don't know what they're going to do, how they're going to react to what you're telling them, if it's going to be reasonable or something to protect the institution. And so I think that leads to this distance between asking for help from an authority figure who you might get in trouble with, or who might affect your life in a way that makes the mental health issues worse, because it's more punitive than helpful. It's kind of like when you're bowling and they have those things up on the edges. They're like trying so hard to not let you fall in, but you're also like, I need to learn from this. This is not helping me, you know? I feel like we've talked about sad things. Want to talk about anything fun? Should I tell you
I'm
a
trying.
story or something?
Pick something fun. What was your best experience at Caltech?
I was a big fan of like working hard to do stupid shit like pranks and stuff. And so that was like my favorite aspect of Caltech was like all of these geniuses who would like put their work on hold to like figure out a way to like moon someone in 4D. You know what I mean? Like just like the dumbest. That's not real, but like I just love dumb stuff like that. Also, it like you'll find yourself doing pranks with just like the most random people. Our house was big on pranks, so we would just like whoever was there at night, and we'd all just like look at each other. We're like, we're doing this. Just like go for whatever prank we wanted to do. My friends turned my room into a Zen garden when I went home for Thanksgiving my freshman year. Like they bought 200 pounds of sand and created like a and it was beautiful. People just came into my dorm room to like do the Zen garden when they were stressed out. It was wonderful. So stuff like that where people just put in a ton of effort to be done was definitely one of my favorite things about Caltech.
That's beautiful.
Yeah.
Anyways, have we had our fun moment? Like, do we have anything else happy to talk about?
Wait, I was also, do you guys remember I was called the fun police because like all of the IHC was mad at me because I had to tell them to stop like breaking shit. So they started calling me the fun police. So for Halloween, I dressed as like a hot cop and I had like the fun police. And I just kept going around telling people to put their fun down and step away from it.
That's a nice way to take, like, I don't know, some hate. Just look at it.
That was fun.
In conclusion,
the thesis of this podcast has been proven. Pallavi is sad but entertaining.
Thank you so much, Pallavi, for coming on the podcast.
Thank you for having me.
I was thoroughly entertained. You truly are a comedian.
Thank you guys so much.
Yeah, this was great.
This was super fun. I love talking to you guys.
Yippee! That was a great conversation. I think the important thing that I personally get from Pallavi is you do have to put the oxygen mask on before you help other people.
Yeah, I don't know if I ever thought about it in that way while I was at Caltech. I think the pitch of like, well, you can't do that if you can't take care of yourself. I think you probably could have convinced me of that, but I think it would have been harder too, rather than just like, you're taking too many classes, drop one.
Yeah, I feel like the classes one just feels more logical. Like, of course, you don't have time to take up a class, but like the trying to convey the how you going to give human advice and be there as a human if you can't fulfill your human needs is such a hard sell.
Okay, so I will do another Riley interjection. Sorry. It's interesting that you say that. My mom did that for me my senior year. I was really struggling after, like Pallavi was talking about the string of suicides at Caltech that happened at the end of my junior year. And I 100% did not believe, like you said, the argument that like you have to take care of yourself first, like stop. I was an upper class counselor. Like I wanted to still be part of that. And I still wanted to take a bunch of classes, and my mom was just like, no. And I was like, okay, nice try. You can tell me that. But nothing could have convinced me of that. But my mom's strategy was bribery. So she was like, I will pay your rent for your off-campus apartment if you will get out of there and stop being an upper class counselor and just take care of yourself. And I am very grateful to my very pushy mother for that approach.
It seems like a very valuable approach. I feel like I would have benefited from that a few times in my life.
Okay, I'm back out of my interjection now, but I'm going to leave you with the question of, is there anything that you wish you had asked Pallavi?
There's tons of stuff. I feel like by the time we're ending, I usually have so many other questions for people. I mean, like we talked a little bit about like day-to-day of her career, but I have a ton of questions about what that kind of career looks like. I think the sort of people you interact with, I think they're just very different, right? And bring about sort of how those kinds of interactions go. I think it would have been pretty interesting.
I mean, I just want to hear about Pallavi's life. Comedian lifestyle seems so interesting day to day. Thank you for listening to our podcast with Pallavi. I hope you have learned a lot about the life of a comedian. And if not, we didn't get into it that much, you can always ask Pallavi. I'm sure you can pay for her time. She loves money. Thank you. Podcast is over. Go home. Do your sets.
Life After Caltech is brought to you by Claire Ellison, Riley Kwong, and Mason Smith, with additional production help by Pallavi Gunalan. The music is called Get Ready to Win by Pamela Yuen from the Free Music Archive under the Creative Commons license. Life After Caltech is in no way affiliated with or approved by the California Institute of Technology or any relevant associations. Thanks for listening.